Hello everyone, this is Sivajagadish Kumar M, Assistant Professor, Vignan University. So welcome to the lecture series on Apparel Costing and Export Documentation, Unit 3, Video 1. So far, in Unit 1 and 2, we have discussed various concepts related to the apparel costing, especially yarn costing, fabric costing, knitting costing, dyeing costing, and all the fabric manufacturing costs were detailedly discussed. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the packaging and labeling cost. Okay. So if you consider the Unit 3 syllabus, which is having the cost sheet preparation and the concepts related to the cost sheet, and the different types, functions, and uses of brand and size labels. Okay, so these topics we are going to discuss in this unit. Mainly, our focus is on the packaging and labeling cost. So, if you see the cost components of any of the garment, it consists of fabrics, trims, then cut, make, trim, CMT charges, then the value added services like printing, embroidery, washing, appliques, then the testing charges, quality charges, the transportation and logistics charges. Okay, and then the last element is the profit. So now already we have discussed briefly in terms of Unit 2. We are going to discuss elaborately in terms of the trims cost in Unit 3, along with that few example cost sheets for few of the men's, women's and children's garments in this unit. So, welcome to the lecture series again. And so, trims includes all materials other than fabric used in the garments. So, most garments have accessories such as threads, buttons, zippers, labels, elastics, all these things comes under the trims. Also, in the earlier class, we have discussed the unit of measurement for these ones, like threads, meters, labels, units, zippers, units, buttons, gross. One gross is 144 units. One gross is equal to 12 dozens. So 12 into 12, 144. Okay. Then polybag, either unit or kg. Okay. Then carton box, hang tags, shanks, rivets, laces. Okay. Similarly, the unit of measurements are like this. So in this class, we are going to discuss in detail about the polybags, cartons, hang tags. So these comes under, and also of course the labels. Okay. So these comes under the packaging and labeling cost. Packaging and labeling cost. Okay. So labeling means again another thing also will come, whether it is the labeling of the things which are there on the top of the carton boxes. Okay, that also will be there, but generally we have considered the labels on the garments. Okay. The cost of labels depend upon the size, material that we are choosing. In mass production, the amount of labels ordered plays a significant role too. Same label, say 1000 pieces and 1 lakh pieces. Whether the cost is same? No, definitely not same. 30 to 50% difference will be there. Okay. So the size of the label and the quantity of the labels are both important. Similarly, the cost of polybags and cartons used for shipping is highly dependent upon the thickness, dimensions of the raw material, and the kind of raw material which is being used. Okay, so these are the things which we are going in deep and focused in today's class. Okay, in this video. So the cost of packaging is equally important as it gives significant difference when we consider the whole order quantity. Okay, maybe like per unit cost, if you see, and all, sir, it is only 40 paisa, why we need to consider. But if you see 1 lakh garments, then it will make a difference. Okay, so even if you save some few pennies or few paisas in few of the packaging costs under, it may earn your salary directly. One decision itself, one person's salary can be achieved. You can think in that way. Okay, so that it will create better emphasis in that regard. So the cost of packaging is equally important as it gives a significant difference when we consider the whole order quantity, entire order quantity we consider. Okay. So hand tags or price tags are the ones which are used as packing material. So the cost of hand tags are depend upon the what kind of material it is used, what is the printing on it, and then what is the minimum order quantity. The MOQ is the most important thing in terms of the trims. MOQ is nothing but minimum order quantity. What is the minimum order quantity? Accordingly, the price and the preferences are also going to change. Okay, we need to make special consideration, especially to this one. Okay, so if you see labels can be either a flag label or sewn at the top or which are all over sewn, any kind of label. And no garment can be sold without some kind of label attached. Labeling, listing the fiber content is mandatory. Size labeling is clearly necessary, and country of origin and marking is also very much necessary. As you can see in these photographs, you can see there are various kinds of labels. It will vary depends upon the kind of brand and all which is going to be used. But the costing part when it comes, whether it is a printed label or woven label, is going to get a vast difference, especially. Okay, vast difference. And then along with this, fusible labels are also there. Fusible labels means by means of application of press and all, it can be made. Okay, in the earlier class we have discussed about these things, right? Similarly, heat seal labels. Heat seal labels are the ones where as like this one, the application of pressure and also heat, it is as like a plastisol print, okay, which will be converted into the garment. Generally for inner wear and all, it will be that. So if you see the cost of label, it depends upon mainly the fiber content, whether it is printed or jacquard label or size of the label, how many colors are used in that label. These are the ones which will depend on the cost of the labeling. So for one garment, label cost may not play a significant role, but in case of mass production, it plays a vital role. In case of mass production, it plays a vital role. Okay, for if you see, but one garment, it may be only 3 rupees. Okay, sir, garment cost is 400 rupees. Why you are concerned about 3 rupees? But as 3 rupees, it may be small, but for 1 lakh garments, it is 3 lakh rupees. If you consider or if you save even 30 paisa, so it is almost equivalent to what? 30,000 rupees, isn't it? So you can employ one person. So for one garment, label cost may be very low. Okay. Sometimes as 3 rupees is the minimum, some depends upon the brands and all, it may go up to 20 rupees per garment also. But extreme cases. But these are some of the thumb rules, you can make a note of it. Taffeta labels, printed labels, 10 paisa to 30 paisa. In case of a woven label, okay, it will be like 1 rupees to 10 rupees. In case of a heat seal label, it will be 60 paisa to 3 rupees. Similarly, pad print, if you seen in terms of the brand X apparel city and all, where in terms of the intimate apparels and all, instead of the heat seal label also, a kind of technique which will be used is referred as the pad print label. So the costing for this one would be somewhere around 20 paisa to 60 paisa. But the volume which required should be minimum of 1 lakh pieces. Minimum of 1 lakh pieces. Then only it is worth doing the pad print. Understood? The pad print, the cost is very low, but at the same time, what happens is it's worth the minimum order quantity or something like that should be very high, and label is not separate. It is a part of the manufacturing process itself in case of the pad. So if you consider total label cost depending upon the garment type and it may vary between 1 rupees to 20 rupees. 1 rupee to 20 rupees. Okay, only the cost of labels. Okay, I hope you. So this is one part. So now let us concentrate on the polybags first. Polybags are polyethylene bags which are basically used to safeguard the garment or the commodity, basically to keep away from the moisture, dust, etc. So the polybags is basically as a safety mechanism. Once it reaches the destination, once sale is done, it is removed and thrown away. But meanwhile, it is very much required, isn't it? Meanwhile, which is very much required, the polybags. So, the cost of polybag is highly dependent upon its thickness, dimensions, and raw material used. Okay, so it can be sold even on the basis of weight also, or it can be sold even on the basis of per unit also, depending upon the extra specifications which you will be requiring. Understood? Either on the weight basis or per unit basis. So, what we will see after a few slides, we will see also how the costing of polybag will be done like that. Okay. So, the polybags, which are also known as polythene bags, okay, polyethylene generally used, PP, and which is having a variety of uses in many industries, not just garment industries. Okay. So, in the apparel, garment, and for the shoe goods, fabric and related industries, polybags are used to protect the goods during the shipment from dirt, dust, and moisture. Dirt, dust, and moisture. These things need to be saved. Okay, so it need to be having protect from dirt, dust, and moisture. Okay, so in particularly two garments, the material used may be of LDPE, low density polyethylene, PP, polypropylene, or vinyl. These are the generally ones which will be used. Apart from this, the organic plastics, okay, are the bioplastics which comes into the picture. If you consider LDPE as on today, somewhere around per kg 110 to 120 rupees. PP also 120 to 130 rupees. Vinyl may be 150 to 200 rupees. Okay, but what happens is this bioplastic, it is somewhere around 250 rupees to 300 rupees. Okay, so the cost is double. So when we say that it is ecological and all, obviously the cost is going to be higher in that case. So in this, the LDPE can be recyclable compared with PP and vinyl. LDPE are recyclable bags and others cannot be recycled. So that is also one of the reasons many of the garment manufacturers will generally go with LDPE bags, low density polyethylene bags. Okay. So let us dig into it. So there are different types of polybags used in the garment industry based on the construction of it. Okay, where it can be a polytubing and heat sealed. That means once the garment is kept, it is heat sealed as like our milk packet and that. And then reclosable means we will open it and also close it. Those are like self-adhesive or resealable. Self-adhesive or resealable. Okay, and then button type means there can be a button, there can be a ziplock, or there can be a slider ziplock, or sometimes it can be a gazetted one. Gazetted one means the one which is having the extra opening. Sometimes even the polybags can be kept along with the hangers also. We will see a few of these things. So the polybags can be heat sealed polybags, and these are primarily used for dry cleaning and garment storage only. The heat sealed polybags are very rarely used at all. So some of these figures are like resealable polybags with hanger and then the heat sealed polybags. Understood? The heat sealed polybags are the ones which are next to it. Okay. So the polybags, self-adhesive bags, they can be resealed even after opening also. Okay. So either a button or a ziplock can be used, or sometimes self-adhesive tapes also can be used. Okay. So if you see the slider ziplock, in this one, the slider ziplock is actually meant for to work with the gloves also, so that with the gloves also we can open and close. But it also gives good feel on the brand when it is presented with the garments. So the slider is required for this bag, generally not required, but for branding on the slider and all, if you put the brand name, it looks so good. Okay, that is the reason the slider ziplocks are also generally used. Okay. And the hangers. The hangers can also be welded to the polybags for socks. So in case of socks and all, when you purchase and all, what will happen? You can see, right? The hanger is welded to it. Okay. So under these garments, like sometimes even for suits, shirts, or packets, maybe two garments are together, something like that. All these things will be comes with a hanger band. It can be used with hanger also. So gazetted, as like in this picture you can see, the gazetted polybags are made to accommodate any rise in the packaging. Okay, like shirt collar which is having. At the collar stage 2 inches, but at the edge it is not much thicker. So where the shirt is kept, there the gazette is required. That is the shirt collar or shoulder projection and blazers etc., which requires the special gazette. Okay, if you see the normal bag in the bottom, what is there? The gazette is there, right? Similarly. So the bags which consist hangers, we have discussed the bags with hangers, right? So either the buttons or zip locks are generally should be there. So what happens in order to hold this? These kind of the bags with the hangers and a minimum of 3 mil thickness. So what is this mil? Okay, we will discuss about that in a few minutes. So right now just understand that 3 mil thickness is the minimum requirement. Okay, so mil, gauge, thou. So there are minimum of means there are several ways to express the thickness of the bags. We will see in few minutes. So minimum of 3 mil thickness should be there when you are dealing with the what you call with the hangers where the buttons or the zipper pull bags and all which are kept. Okay, in those cases it is recommended. Like the gauging system or the thickness of the poly bags. Generally there are 3 types of units for measurement which are there. One is mil, another one is micron, another one is gauge. Mil, micron, gauge. So what is it? What is mil? What is micron? What is gauge? Yeah. So you might have already seen, right? Even the government is also imposed some of the regulations that this much minimum of 18 micron should be there, like that, isn't it? So mil is the system which is like thou in terms of spinning and all. You might have 1/1000 of an inch. That is nothing but milli-inch. Milli-inch. Okay. So mil is the system which is widely used for poly bags. Mil is identified as 1000 of an inch. 1 mil means the thickness is 1/1000 of an inch. That is mil. Another one is micron. Micron is 1/1000 of an mm. 1/1000 of an mm. Okay, that is referred as micron. And the third one is the gauge. So it is universally accepted system for packaging poly bags and all. 1 gauge is equivalent to 1/1 lakh of an inch. 1/1 lakh of an inch. That is referred as gauge. So if you see all these 3 systems, the conversion 1 mil is equal to 25 microns, and which is also equivalent to 100 gauge. Which is also equivalent to 100 gauge. So in the earlier slides we have discussed it, 3 mil it should be. That means minimum of 300 gauge it should be. Okay. Minimum of any poly bag which will be made for garments and all generally 125 and above. 125 and above. Even some of the for keeping some folders and all, you can see Sun 60, Sun 90. That means it is basically 60 gauge, 90 gauge, 120 gauge, 150 gauge like that. In folders and all you might have seen, right? So that is the system, gauge system. Okay. So mil, micron, and gauge. 1 mil is equal to 25 micron, which is also equivalent to 100 gauge. Understood? Yeah, please remember this. Mil, micron and gauge. So, you see the costing of polybags and that, like the generally LDPE and PP polybags, for costing of these one, we need to consider the weight of the polybag. Okay, and then the raw material cost and conversion cost. That's it. Okay. So the formula which is used for conversion of based upon the dimensions, it can be converted. Okay, like weight in kg per 1000 pieces. The formula for determining the weight in kg per 1000 pieces is equal to length of the bag in inches, width of the bag in inches, and the gauge of the poly bag divided by 3300. Depending upon the density of polymer and all other things, this constant has been discussed. Okay, 3300. Length in inches, width in inches, and the gauge of the poly bag divided by 3300. Once we get the raw material cost, we can multiply with what you call the cost per 1000 bags. So we can find out cost of 1 unit. And by depending upon the specifications and all, the conversion cost can be added to this garment, this poly bag cost. Understood? Yeah, I hope you understood. So For hanger cut, means these are some of the general norms. Apart from the what you call the raw material cost. In case the hanger cut is required, add 10 paisa. In case single color print is there, okay, like warning or do not, it's not a child's toy, something like that. For a single color print, 10 paisa. Okay. For multicolor, number of colors multiplied by number of 10 paisas. 3 color print means 30 paisa. Okay, understood. Extra. Yeah. So similarly, in case of gazette is required, gazette means making of this fold, adding and all. It's an additional work. So additional of 40 paisa per side. If it is required on both sides, more. Understood? 40 paisa per side. And then for perforated polybag, that means some places and all some holes need to be given. Maybe what happens is there are many chances for accidents for kids. Okay, for kids garments, maybe they wanted to play and if they have it, unfortunately, it may suffocate. And a few people were died in some of the countries also. And that is the reason some brands will go for perforated polybags. Perforated polybag means additionally few holes will be kept at the edges. That's all. Okay, so for keeping the holes, perforated polybags, so additional cost is going to be incurred. 20 to 40 paisa depending upon the number of slits or what kind of opening and that. If it have a button on top of the polybag, so 30 paisa per button approximately. Understood? So for self-adhesive tape, in case of self-adhesive tape, 5 paisa per inch. If it is 10 inches, half rupee for self-adhesive tape. In case of hanger, need to be attached. So 2 to 4 rupees depending upon the design, material and various other things. Okay, but there are other types of vinyl polybags. Okay, like these are specifically not made normally. So these bags are popular due to its glossy finish. Okay, these are very shiny in that and excellent strength and greater tear strength, which is made with 5 mil and above. So generally, these will be made with 3 mil and above. Minimum is 3 mil, but generally available with 5 mil. So what happens is these are entirely different ones. These types are generally available with much detailing in terms of the design. Sometimes these are made with the seams, stitches and aesthetic finishes, or even normal nylon zipper also will be attached. As like the normal zipper, this type of zipper also will be attached to these type of vinyl polybags. Vinyl polybags. Understood? So there are no specific guidelines for costing of these vinyl polybags. There are no specific guidelines. It's depending upon its like supply and demand. It is not generally used, right? So there is no thumb rules for it. But need to bargain, right? So the cost of these products are mainly dependent upon the style provided, design to be printed, and the type of sealing mechanism, whether velcro is required or zipper is required or button is required. Depending upon that, the cost of these vinyl polybags is going to get changed. Understood? Yeah, that is about the vinyl polybags. You see, okay, please take a paper and pen and perform an example of cost. So a PP polybag which is having 17 inches width and 30 inches in length, and the gauge is 180, and which is consisting a self-adhesive tape. The cost of PP is 90 rupees per kg. Okay, so what is the cost? Please do it. Yeah, I am asking you to do it. Take a pen, paper and calculator. We have taken the formula, right? Length multiplied by width into gauge divided by 330. Yes. Okay. Let me show you an answer. You please try it. So the weight of the material we need to find out. So 17 into 30 into 180 gauge divided by 330. So that is equivalent to 91,800 divided by 330. So for 1000 polybags, the weight comes to be 27.81 kg. 27.81 kg per 1000 pieces. That means each polybag weighs around 28 grams. Isn't it? So if you know the cost of material, obviously 27.81 kg multiplied by 90 rupees per kg, which is 2,500 rupees per 1000 cases. 1000 pieces. So cost of one poly bag is 2.5 rupees. Cost of one poly bag is 2.5 rupees. Understood? I hope you understood the calculation. But as of now, in the present today's market and now, the cost of polyethylene LDPE is somewhere around 110 to 120 rupees. 110 to 120 rupees. So similarly, it is having the self-adhesive tape, right? 17 inches is the width and per inch is 5 paisa. So 85 paisa extra. So one poly bag is 3 rupee 35 paisa. One poly bag is 3 rupee 35 paisa. Understood? So the cost of poly bag is highly dependent upon the thickness, the dimensions and the raw material used. The poly bag ordered in terms of number of pieces. The cost of poly bag is equally important as it gives significant difference when we consider the whole order quantity, like say 10,000 pieces or 1 lakh pieces or 10 lakh pieces. So what is the MOQ for these poly bags? Okay, MOQ means the minimum order quantity. Generally for these poly bags, the minimum order quantity is somewhere around 5,000 units in case of LDPE and PP. And in case there is a special type of gazette and all other things, so 25,000 to 30,000 units should be minimum. Again, it can be negotiable depending upon the design and all. So, the commonly used size poly bags will be generally available. Like what is the lead time? So if we give order today, when it will be available? The minimum is like 2 days. But depending upon the design and all, it may take up to 2 weeks. 10 to 12 days is the normal lead time. As a merchandiser or a costing person, you need to consider that. So, you see, these are the ordering specifications we need to give for poly bag. While ordering the poly bags, the following specifications should be mentioned. What are the following? Type of material, what is the gauge of the material, length and width of the bag, whether there will be requirement of any flap or not, or is there any sealing mechanism or not, whether recyclable logo is required or not, whether warning logo should be there or not, okay, or any brand name or any special information, and the number of color and color specifications on top of the printer, and any special information regarding banned chemicals, etc. Number of vent openings means in case of openings or small holes and all which required. Well, those things are, all these parameters must be given while ordering. Yeah. So that is about the poly bags. I hope you got pretty clear idea about the poly bags. Now let us discuss about the carton boxes. So you have seen the carton boxes, right? So many types and all, so many purposes and all it can be used. Okay, use and throw type also. So same like poly bag, the cost of cartons are also highly dependent upon the what kind of material and all. Okay, so depending upon these factors, the unit of measurement is generally piece. Okay, and also it varies along with the MOQ, minimum order quantity and okay. So the carton boxes are generally procured based on the number of plies, like 3 ply, 5 ply, 7 ply, something like that, and the dimensions, the 3 dimensions, and the GSM of the paper which is going to be used. So generally the number of plies used are 3, 5, 7, 9, etc. So 9 ply, 60 into 40 into 40, 4-side calico. This example we have discussed in the earlier class also, right? So you can see the length, the width and the depth. Okay, length, width and the depth, or sometimes it can be called as a height also. Okay, length, width and the depth. So there will be a gray area for this, how to specify, and it need to be given with a small diagram and the dimension should be mentioned for better understanding of this one. Yeah. So these carton boxes usually measured in centimeters in garment factory. It requires to convert into CBM, cubic meter. CBM is nothing but cubic meter while shipping or loading goods into the cargo van. So we need to decide what is the CBM basically. So the carton's price, thickness and strength depending upon the carton structure, ply and float. What is flute, sir? You said structure is okay, ply also okay. Flute is the corrugated boxes flutes. We will see this. Like in this figure, what happens? You can see 7 ply carton box. You can see the cross section of the carton box. A 7 ply, a 5 ply, 3 ply. Similarly, even 12 ply, 14 ply also will be there. Okay. So 7 ply is the normally good one. 3 ply is only for separation. If you are keeping a cones of spinning and all, just to separate in between in order to get damage, avoid damage and all, maybe a 3 ply and 5 ply. Generally for outer and all, 7 ply carton is good. Again, it depends upon the this paper and its gauge or GSM and various other factors also will come into picture. So the shape, if you observe, this is nothing but the corrugated box. So that's why this is known as corrugations. So the corrugated boxes, these are referred as carton boxes or corrugated paper boxes. Okay. So the flute is nothing but, you see in this one, the flute is nothing but, if you see the 0.5 mm flute and 5 mm flute, what is the difference? The surface is same, but in between the corrugates is there, right? So the pitch between the sine wave, isn't it? Pitch, the frequency, one pitch is nothing but flute. The bigger the flute, the more volume it is. Okay. The smaller the flute, the less thickness or volume it is. Okay. For insulation purposes and various other things also come into the picture. Okay. Depending upon the flute density and also the strength is going to change. Understood? So if you see the carton boxes calculation, a carton box with a length of 60 centimeter and width of 40 centimeter and height of 30 centimeter. So what is the cargo measurement of 208 boxes for finding out the CD? Okay, cubic meter. So 60 into 40 into 30 whole divided by what do you call this 10 lakhs and multiply by 2208. So it gives 15 cubic meter. Especially in terms of sea shipment or in terms of the air shipment, this CBM comes into the picture. Similarly, a carton box of 7 ply, length 80 centimeter, width 60 centimeter, and height is of 30 centimeters. Total 120 pieces. Well, how much square meter is it? How much square meter? Similarly, cubic meter. So it comes to 329 in order to keep them. Okay, length into width plus wastage. Understood? So total square meters of paper which is required for it. Okay. So see another example. 1 square meter price per 3 ply carton is 20 cents of US dollars. So once we identify how much is the square meter, generally 20 cents per square meter in case of 3 ply, 40 cents per 5 ply, 80 cents in case of 7 ply or 9. Understood? The general cost. So with this example, we can calculate the cost which is going to be incurred per carton box. Depending upon, first of all, we need to identify how much is the square meter of carton boxes are required in order to make this one. Understood? So here we will see a video basically which explains about the costing of this carton box.
Yeah, as we discussed, there are 3 types of plies in terms of the corrugated boxes: 3 ply, 5 ply, and 7 ply. So, depending upon the structure and all, the weight of the carton box and how much weight it can save or it can store in that carton box is also going to be depending upon that. Okay. So, the weight of the carton box and how much weight it can hold, both are very important. Like in case of 3 ply cardboard, you can see ply 1, ply 2, ply 3, like this 3 ply board. We have seen some of the figures, right? So similarly in case of 5, what will happen? It will be more. If you see the flute is nothing but the more number of flutes means the more strength it is. The more number of flutes means more strength it is. But at the same time, what will happen? It will also absorb the shock. The flutes will absorb the shock. So it should not be too low so that the paper will be saved and it should not be too high. Okay, so it should be optimum. Okay, so similarly in case of 5 ply, 2 flutes will be there, 3 base layers and 2 flute layers are the corrugated base layers. Similarly in case of 7 ply, what will happen? 1, 2, 3, 4 basic layers and 3 flute layers. So the total length of the board will depend upon 2 into length plus ply and 3 into width plus ply, and then the joint elements, then the trimming elements, everything need to be added. 2 lengths means both sides length, and ply means in that way how many number of plies are there. Okay, so the joint elements is dependent upon the flute elements. Trimming elements is dependent upon the elements which are there, basically depending upon the shape and all, the paper is going to be wasted, right? So for that also we need to consider. So the total width of the board, if you consider width into 2 into ply, similarly height into ply, then the trimming elements. So the length of the board and width of the board we need to consider first to create the square meter of weightage of the the carton box which is required. So the weight, once we get it, okay. So the dimensions, if you see, 250 into 225 into 150, that means width, depth and height. So calculate the cost of 300 corrugated boxes made up in 3 ply. So cost of ply is 35 rupees per kg, and GSM is 100 GSM, and the flute factor is 1.5. The joining elements are 25% and then trimming elements are 30%. This is just assuming, but the paper cost is roughly higher only at this moment, maybe up to 70 rupees per kg is the market cost. Just for example, if you consider 35 rupees per kg, how much it is and all. So we need to take the market cost whenever we are going for the costing of it. Okay. So the plies are 3 ply, length is 250, breadth is 245, height is 150. So if you consider this and calculate the total length which is required and the total width which is required, so from this we can calculate the unit cost. Okay, so unit cost is based on the weight. Okay, how much is coming to be weight of one carton box, multiply by 35 rupees per kg. So that means 6 rupee 82 paisa per kg. So for 300 boxes it is coming to 2050 rupees. So by adding allowances of 10% wastage, printing cost and also all other things like profits, freight charges, everything to be added into this. So somewhere around maybe 15 rupees to 20 rupees it may be quoted for the garment manufacturer. Okay. So for 300 boxes, 300 into 6.825, it is equal to 2047 rupees. On top of this, the wastage, printing cost, all these additional costs must be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I hope you understood the costing, how it should be done in case of 3 ply, 5 ply and 7 ply. So let us dig into the next one. Okay. The next item for discussion in terms of packaging and labeling cost is the hang tags. So the hang tags are the price tags which are used as packing material. The cost of hang tags are dependent upon the what material, printing and embossing again. Okay, there are no thumb rules for it. Minimum is like 1 rupee to 20 rupees depending upon the how fancy it is. So what is the takeout in this video? We have discussed various components of packaging and labeling costs. Okay, and what are the important parameters we should consider in ordering and in consideration of these specific items. Okay, I hope we have learned something very new today, and thank you very much for your patient listening. So we will be keep discussing about the unit 3. So in further classes we will discuss many of the garment costs and some of the other trims also. So stay safe. Thank you.